Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first and only Summit for Guardianship Victims. There's never going to be another one because after today, we're no longer victims. Hopefully, we'll be getting together some other time in the future when we're all advocates. One of the reasons we're having these sessions, and this is the first of two sessions, as you know, is to try to bring attention to our issue, our plight, our cause, to the public. We've all kind of come to the conclusion that going to the court in probate doesn't give us much chance of success. So we've all decided to go to a different court, and that's the court of public opinion. And that's what this session is going to be about. We're going to show today that this diverse group of people who've really never met one another all share something in common. We have people who are still young, people who are older, people who are highly educated, articulate, professionals, PhDs, lawyers, doctors, geologists. I mean, it's a stunning array of intelligence and common sense. But we all have one thing in common, and what would that be, anyone?
The guardianship.
Guardianship.
Abuse.
Tell me about that.
Guardianship abuse has affected every last one of us, such that our entire lives were transformed literally instantaneously when someone we loved, usually our parents, was snatched out from our lives, isolated from us usually, and put into some kind of a circumstance that is equivalent to human bondage. The people we love lost their right to vote. They lost their right to live in their own residence in general. They lost their right to marry. They lost their right to sign contracts, to manage their own assets, to choose their own doctors, to refuse medical treatment, on, which directly affected us, and we all sprang individually into action trying to rescue our loved ones.
You know, you mentioned rights. Let's talk about rights, human rights and civil rights, what they mean to you, how important they are. Who would like to just talk about that? I mean, excuse me, but you came from Cuba.
Yes.
Tell me about rights.
Well, right now, the government that we have in our country, you don't have a right to do anything, not even to choose your own food. You have to eat whatever the government gives you. And that's the same pattern that guardianship has. You don't have a choice when you are in a guardianship. You have to get whatever they give you. And usually it's more what they take than what they give you. It's a total destroyment of families, family values, the person itself, the word. It's just too much despair to even explain it in words.
Who else has some thoughts about rights?
Well, you know, my thought is one group has complete control and power over another group that's had all their rights removed, and it's all for profit. And again, all I can say is, what does that sound like? That's happened many times in America. So it's not un-American. It actually is something that happens in this country. And it takes people like us that are brave, that stand up and say, we've had enough, this is wrong, and this is non-human. It's just not something that people should do to others. But again, it is the greed factor that makes people do this, and it is so hurtful to all of us. I mean, we could fill this room up, I think it's 10-foot ceilings, with tears, I'm sure, because how much sorrow we've all had with this, and it's just tough.
So it seems to me that the one thing our government has a promise to us, to give us, is our constitutional rights. The entire foundation of our society in the United States of America is based on a principle. It's in the very beginning of the Constitution, it's in the Florida State Constitution, and that is no one can be discriminated against on the basis of really anything. Do you feel like that works for these folks?
My mom, who is a ward of the state, she can't believe it's happening to her. She said, "This is America. This can't be happening." She doesn't understand it, and when I try to explain it, she gets so upset and shocked by it, I have to change the subject. I'm afraid it's going to kill her. But she had her advance directives in place. She did everything right. She can't believe people could come into her home, take all her money, change the locks. She can't believe that they took her mail from her. She still checks her mail 2 years later. It's very sad to see an 84-year-old woman walking down to her mailbox and see it empty. But that's what a lot of these people say. This is America. This can't be happening. And when we tell other people what has happened, they find it hard to believe. And they don't want to believe it, because if they believed it, it means it could happen to them.
And that, of course, is one of our problems. This whole situation is so unbelievable. It's so big and it has so many facets that the general public really can't get their arms around it. And hopefully we'll be able to help them this morning to understand it.